everyone, thank you for watching this video. Now in this part of the video for today, we are going to look at solving quadratic equations. In solving quadratic equations, there are a few different methods for our set 3. Number 1, we can solve by completing square. Number 2, we can solve by factorization. So in this case, I picked an example of a simple word problem through factorization. And we also know how to solve by quadratic formula. And last but not least, I'll cover one more type on fractional quadratic equations. Without further ado, let's begin. Solving by completing square. Now, first question over here, we'll take a look at this. This is express the following x squared minus 4x plus 6 into the form x plus a holding square plus b. This form itself already tells you that this must be in the completed square form. Right, so this means you need to do completing square. Now let's take a look at how we're going to use completing square. For those students who are in my lesson, you should be able to find a little bit familiar with the algebraic tiles over here. So let's take a look. Okay, to begin, I want to express x squared minus 4x minus 6 into something square. Right, so let's begin with our x squared tile. What times what give me something square? Oh well, x times x give me x squared. So my x squared over here, I put it in my bracket, so it becomes x itself. Then next, I have a negative 4x. So in this case, I got negative 4 of these units, negative 4x. I'm going to arrange all this such that it becomes a square. Now, what's the property of a square? The property of a square, the sides over here must be equal. So in this case, since I have the number negative 4 of them, I need to split this up equally into 2 parts, right? Equal to the first one over here, I'll put negative x over here. Then I'll rotate this and change it into a square, a horizontal rectangle. I'll put it in over here. Right, so that now gives me part of a square. Okay, and what is all this measurement over here? This one will give me, there's negative 1, negative 2, there are negative 2 units of x. Whatever that's on this side should be the same as whatever that's on this side. So it's now also negative 2 units of x. So in this case, this is negative 4x. What have I done to it? I have split it up into 2, and you notice when you get a number over here, there's no more x term, right? So in this case, I'm taking negative 4 divided by 2, right? Which gives me the number negative 2. So I shall just write this directly, negative 2. Now, in this completed square form over here, x minus 2 holding square, we are supposed to complete this square with this square tile over here. And what is this number going to be? This number is actually given by, I'm taking negative 2 times negative 2 holding square. With negative 2 holding square, which actually gives me the number 4. Right? So by right, this number over here is supposed to be plus 4. But however, you will notice that this answer over here, this number 4, right, is this number over here is not negative, it's not positive 4. This number is negative 6. So how am I going to change it to match this expression over here? So what I'm going to do is, since this is definitely a plus 4, I shall need to remove this whole square over here. Remove this. So I'm going to do opposite. Okay, I'm going to subtract whatever that is here, which is subtract 4. And then the original value that they want in my question is supposed to be negative 6, right? I should add in a negative 6 after that. Alright, so in this case, we will be able to get our completed square form, x minus 2 holding square, subtract whatever number that is here square, so minus away 2 square becomes negative 4, then plus minus 6 again, so I'll get negative 10. So hence I've completed part A. I have expressed this into a completed square form. But part A mentioned find the value of A and B. So I need to write down what's the value for A and B. So this is into form x plus A. So I should take a look at my value. So in this case, this is plus A. So here will be negative 2. So A is the value negative 2. And this number over here, this is plus B. So this one is plus B. So this one over here is minus B, minus 10. So in this case, we know B equals to number negative 10. So have you gotten the answer? Okay, so I will recommend you to try more questions for completing square form. Alright, then now let's move on to part B. Questions say hence solve. Hence, that means you are expected to use your previous answer, which is this answer over here, to help you solve the equation. So we know that the equation is x squared minus 4x minus 6 equals to 0. So this whole portion I've done completing square for this. I can replace it by my answer. X minus 2 whole thing square, subtract 10 to be equals to 0. So now how can I solve this equation? I can keep x minus 2 whole thing square over here, and I'm going to shift negative 10 over. So this is minus 10, so I shall do the reverse operation. I shall add 10, so it becomes positive 10. Next thing, I shall try to get x minus 2 on its own. X minus 2 on its own. I do not want the square, so I'm going to remove the square. I'll be left with x minus 2 to be equals to, I'm going to take square root of 10. So when I take square root of 10, there are two answers, positive square root 10 or negative square root 10. Right? And then now they want us to find x. I shall try to get rid of minus 2. This is subtracting 2, so I will add 2. So x equals to square root 10 plus 2 or negative square root 10 plus 2. So there are two different answers. Alright, two different answers. Then from here, I will square root 10 plus 2. Remember, the plus 2 is outside the square root sign. So please make sure you calculate carefully. And in this case, since they didn't say the accuracy, so I'm going to write it to three significant figures. 5.16 or negative square root 10 plus 2. Remember, the plus 2 is outside the square root. Negative 1.16. Three significant figures. Have you gotten the answer? Next question. Now, in this question, we are going to look at solving quadratic equation using factorization. And we're going to look at a simple word problem. Alright, let's take a look at this question. It's given that n is a positive integer, so n must be a positive number. Okay, f is found by adding 4 to n. So there are a few numbers over here. What is letter F? F, the unknown, is adding 4 to n. So I shall add 4 to n. So I take n, I add 4 to it. And then multiplying the result, which is this whole thing. So I'll multiply this whole thing by n. So multiplying by n. So I'll take this whole thing, I'll multiply by an n to it. Okay, let me just simplify this. In this case, this one will become n squared plus 4n. Right? Let's go statement by statement. Second statement, g is found by adding 1 to n. So I take n, I add 1 to it. And then I'm multiplying the result by 10. So I'll multiply this whole result by the number 10. So let me simplify this. I got 10n plus 10. Right? So the first statement is done. The second statement also done. Next, they say g is 3 more than f. G is means equal, right? 3 more than f. 3 more than f. So f plus another 3 will give you g, right? So g is means equal, right? 3 more than f. f plus 3. So in this case, what we're going to do, we're going to replace our values over here, our expression, by f. So f will be this and g will be this. So g is now 10n plus 10 equals to 3 plus my f n squared plus 4n. So I've just interpreted this statement. Now the question says, show that n squared minus 6n minus 7 equals to 0. So from this equation, I'm going to rearrange all the terms. Since they want one side to be equals to 0, so I need to shift everything over to one side. And you notice they want n squared. This side over here is positive n squared. So I'm going to keep everything over onto the right, and the left hand side should become 0. So in this case, I should have n squared plus 4n. This is a positive 10. Bring over will be a negative 10. Subtract 10n. And this one is plus 10. So I shall subtract 10. And then I have my original 3. Right? Let us simplify this equation. We will have 0 n squared plus 4 minus 10, negative 6n minus 7. So this is our part A answer shown. Have you gotten the answer? Okay, part B now, solving using factorization. The question say using factorization. So in this case, if you to use your quadratic formula, it is not allowed in this case, right? They say solve by factorization. So we are going to factorize n squared minus 6n minus 7. Right? How are we going to factorize these using your trial and error method? N times n to give you n squared. Then what number times what number can give you negative 7? So I'll work out the sign later. I'll think of the numbers. So probably it'll be 7 times 1. And n times 7 will be 7n. N times 1 will be n. So I need a negative 6n. So I'm going to need subtract 7 plus n. So it'll be minus 7 plus n. And let's check the sign. Negative plus, so and positive. So this one is negative. This is correct. So my two brackets will be n minus 7 and n plus 1. Okay, so in this case, question part B says n squared minus 6n minus 7 equals to 0. So I'm going to solve by factorization. Let me shift this whole thing up. Solving this by factorization, I have already factorized this into two brackets. Factorization means the bracket. So we need n minus 7 and n plus 1 to be equals to 0. Solving this, that will give me, since something times something equals to 0, right? So the first factor to be equals to 0, n minus 7 to be equal to 0. Therefore, n will be equals to the number 7. Or the second factor to be equal to 0, n plus 1 to be equal to 0. So n will be equals to negative 1. Now there are two answers, so which answer for n are we going to use? If you remember, we went through the question just now. It says that n is a positive integer. So unfortunately, this answer will be not rejected or not applicable, right? So therefore, the positive integer will be n. Have you gotten the answer? Up next, solving by formula. So a very simple then direct question over here. Solve the following equation, giving your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Now usually when the question mentions such a statement like giving your answer to 3 significant figures or 2 decimal places, it's actually a direct hint for you to use the quadratic formula. But first of all, do you remember what's the quadratic formula? It will not be given in exam, so you must memorize it. So in this case, we know it's no longer x because now the question over here is y. So y will be equals to negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a, right? So usually for me, I will encourage all my students, because it's highly likely that you will make common mistake. So you just put brackets all the way. Negative b. First answer is a positive answer, right? Square root b square minus 4a and c over 2a. Or my second answer, negative b minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2a. Alright, for this video, I'll just show you the long cut, so I'll just write down everything in detail. Okay, but those students who are very good at it, you already know how to operate your calculator without writing 2 times. Okay, then please go ahead. Alright, then let us identify what is our A, B, and our C. So for our A is the number of units for y squared. So A equals to 3. Okay, B is the number of units for y. So this number of units include the sign. So this one will be -5. And last but not least, C is the number of constant units. So C will be the number -4. Right? Let's plug this in. Now, B is -5. Now, some students who do not like to put brackets, you might get into a little bit of trouble here, because it's minus -5. So if you key it wrongly, you will not be able to get your answer. Okay, and this is also negative B, right? So now something to take note over here. Inside your calculator, if you were to key -5 whole thing square, this calculator will not process the square for the negative sign. So it will give you -25, which is actually wrong. So in your calculator, you must key bracket -5 whole thing square. Then this one will become +25. Right? Something to take note over here. So it's very safe for you to put brackets first. B squared minus 4a and c. -4 again over 2a. So you can key these two equations, these two whole thing into your calculator and find the two answers. So from my calculator, I tried to calculate everything. My first answer is 2.2573 working 3SF, or my second answer will be -0.5907 8066. Sorry. Working, I always write 3SF. Now, students can choose to key the whole thing into your calculator, or you can use your calculator mode for solving equations. Some calculator is mode 3, some are 5 to 2. Alright, so some of you will know the calculations to double check your answer. So in this case, the question say round off the answer to 2 decimal places. So this should be 2.26 or -0.59. Okay, now for quadratic equations, when you solve, do try to keep your answers to 5 sig fig first before you solve to 3 sig fig, or according to the question, 2 decimal places, because some word problems will require you to use the answer that you have found. So when you do part B to solve word problems, or whichever part C and D, you will want to use the more accurate 5 significant figure for your calculation. Alright, let's move on to the last part of our question. Solving simple fractional equations. So I've just chose a very simple fractional equation over here, and you notice this is a fraction. So usually I'll try to get rid of my denominators. So in this case, I'll do a cross multiplication. So let me copy this down. X minus 2 to x minus 3. I'll put the whole thing as over 1. Right? Then I'll do my cross multiplication. For cross multiplication, equal sign stays in the middle. Please remember. Right? So this one will be 10. This one will be x minus 2 times 2x minus 3. Some student will go and try to do a common mistake. You try to expand and put it equals to 10 and solve for the answer. That is not correct. What you need to do, get the quadratic equation to be equals to 0 first. Must be equal to 0. So this one here is not equal to 0, right? So we expand out our brackets over here. So this one I'll get 2x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus negative 2 times negative 3 plus 6. And then this is positive 10, right? So I'll try to get it over to this side over here. That will become minus 10. And finally, this is equals to 0. All right? So let's simplify the equation. I get 2x squared minus 7x minus 4 equals to 0. Now, sometimes over here, we may like to think whether we can solve it using factorization or using quadratic formula. The question did not simplify, okay? So, did not state whether do you want it to you solve by factorization or quadratic formula. So there are two different methods over here. You can try to do factorization. Okay, let me try to do factorization. So I have 2x and x to give me 2x squared. I need a 4 and I try to get a negative 7. So I'll put 4 over here such that 2x times 4 give me 8x and 1. X times 1 will give me x. So I want a negative 7x to addition and subtraction on this side. So I'll put the negative over to the bigger number. Positive for x. And check the sign. A positive times negative is negative 4. So this is correct. The sign is correct. Okay, wait a minute. So where are my two brackets? This will be my first and second bracket. So factorizing this, I have 2x plus 1 and x minus 4 to be equals to 0. So first solution over here, 2x plus 1 equals to 0. Or second solution over here, x minus 4 to be equals to 0. So 2x equals to negative 1, x equals to negative half. Or x equals to 4. We have both our answers. If you would like to, or in exam you don't want to think too much, you can also use the quadratic formula, okay, provided you know how to key your answers correctly. Alright, so have you gotten your answer? Okay, with that, we have come to the end of this part of the video, and I'd like you to revise all the different skills that is needed. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye.